And honestly, no one prepares you for this. It just happens. We talk to our kids every day, but at some point it starts to feel different. Not bad, not wrong, but just different. And no one really tells you anything about this or to expect it, but it just happens. I feel like every day when you pick up your kids, if you pick up your kids or when they walk in the house, we always do the daily check ins like, how was school? How's everything working? Those usual questions. They almost feel automatic. And it's like, no news is good news, is what it feels like. And as a parent, we're always hoping and believing that our kids will come to us and tell us if something is wrong. And honestly, it's easy to think that they're okay because they're still showing up. There's no complaints about them not wanting to go to school. They're still smiling. And it makes you feel like everything is still the same. And they're honestly still doing what they need to do, is what it looks like from your point of view. So, honestly, moms, a lot of things can make things look almost invisible to us if our kids just recently changed schools, like the school dynamics change, like their social groups, or even just losing friends. Like them growing independence, which is kind of different because them coming into a bigger school can do that definitely, or even having these new feelings that they never felt before. And they may not know how to really have that language yet to express it. So sometimes they don't know what they're feeling exactly. So that might explain why they don't say anything at all. And that's something that I think we're all starting to learn and even sometimes overlook. So me being a first time middle school parent, is that the best way to say it? I don't know, but we're gonna go with it. So for my middle schooler, I think the first thing for me was I noticed was a small shift, and the conversations went from being longer to shorter and a little bit different. And the energy was a little bit different too. And it wasn't one big moment that stood out to me. It was actually gradual. And that's honestly what surprised me because I was expecting something major because he was going to middle school. And I was actually more terrified in the beginning than anything. It honestly caught me off guard because I was expecting more than that. And especially because it's technically not a new school, but it is a new school because a lot of his friends were going there. It's just a bigger school, and you went from being the bigger person, and now you're the small fish again. So, um, and I panicked so bad for myself, but he took it just fine. So just not hearing him say anything, just being concerned, and he was just calm the whole time while my other two kids were just, my day looks like this, my day looks like that, and his days went from being very detailed to very quiet. So it took a while for me to catch on to that because, like I said, it was gradual, and I was just kind of like, so why aren't your days like this anymore? Why don't you say anything anymore? I I will say I don't like to be that hovering parent. That's not who I am. I want to make sure they feel loved, supported, and heard. And I also want to make sure I wasn't second guessing anything or missing anything in that situation. And obviously hovering and just being that parent that's overbearing because I don't want to be that person. But long as he felt supported in everything that he needs and more is kind of what I'm going for. So that's kind of where it's in with that. But that's kind of how it was for me. Definitely gradual until it was just kind of like surprise, like, okay. So it's kind of one of those things that you need to make sure you're checking in and asking different questions and making sure that you're not being too pushy was what I was telling myself. And I continue to tell myself because, like I said, this is new to me because this is my new middle school. I'm a new middle school mom. Is it a thing? I don't know, but we're gonna go with it. We're a new middle school mom. There we go. So yes, we're going with that. And maybe I overthink things at times because if we think about like how things look like for us growing up, it definitely didn't look like this because some of us did not have cell phones until probably high school, or maybe some people had them earlier. I don't know, but my parents were old school to where you had to pay for your own crap if you wanted it. So I look at that. Our kids are being exposed to things a lot sooner than what we were, and making sure you're always protecting your kids. And it's just some things are definitely out of your control. And it's just crazy because some pressures we just didn't have to deal with that they have to deal with now. And it's almost terrifying at times, but that's definitely what you have to put in perspective, right? So that's kind of where I stand at, and making sure I'm well aware that, okay, my son feels heard, he's understood, and that he's okay. I definitely feel like emotional awareness happens a lot earlier these days than what it did when we were kids. At least it's more accepted, at least amongst other adults, because back then they'd be like, oh, kids didn't understand that or don't realize what they see, but we're accepting those terms now. So it's just amazing to me. They're navigating things at their age that we definitely did not have to worry about growing up. So it's still just always making sure that they're okay, they're good to go. And it's definitely something that I'm always concerned about, but also try not to make him feel like he's overwhelmed, he doesn't feel safe, and he's not prepared. Just always trying to prepare them as much as they can. In other words, we're trying to figure this out as we go. So even though I'm not a new mom, I feel like I learn something every single day about my kids, or I have like this big moment, this epiphany, like, okay, this is big, this is grand. Like, what is this that I'm learning from my kids? Or like, I want to do something, explore more with my kids that makes me want to preserve my relationship with them, and making sure like it's always going to just grow and develop for the better, because I don't want my relationship to ever turn sour with my kids. And sometimes those relationship with your kids can be steady, and definitely in the world we live in, it has its ebbs and flows. And sometimes we may not understand the differences with our relationships with our kids when they happen. And this is similar to what we might have had with our own parents growing up, which we can probably relate to and say, hey, I remember when this happened when I was a kid. Maybe I can use it as a life lesson and make sure I don't make the same mistake. And if it does happen, this is how I can change it. Thinking more about this situation, having this conversation recently with my son, him going into middle school throughout this year, this season has definitely taught me to slow down, embrace every moment a little bit more, and honestly to check in without trying to fix everything, because as a mom, we all know how hard that is. We want to fix everything, just like, oh, it's my baby. I have to fix it. They're crying. I have to fix it. And I'm learning to just take a beat and accept the fact that sometimes everything doesn't need an answer to be fixed. Sometimes it's kind of one of those moments you have to sit back and just allow it to be a moment that you're aware of it. You talk to them and guide them through it the best way you can. And it's definitely different. It's definitely different, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there, moms. I'm definitely getting there. Hey, moms, I'm curious if any of you out there have had this type of shift before with your child too, and how you were able to deal with it, and how did you catch it first? Like, what stood out to you in order for you to catch it, and how are you, if you're currently still going through it, how are you navigating it? Because this is something that I'm currently still navigating and trying to get through. Because, like I said, I have one in middle school and two younger ones that are still in elementary. So it's definitely different, but I mean, I love it. They're growing and couldn't be happier, but it's definitely a different season. So I'm kind of curious. Moments like this is why reflection matters so much to me. And it's honestly not just for our kids, but for us as well, because we are our kids' first teacher before the kids get to the school or anyone else, to keep that in mind. So that's kind of how I look at the situation. You may look at it differently, but this is how I look at it. So it's just my perspective on it. I created a gentle reset guide for working parents who need space to process life transitions without judgment. I'll link it below if you want something supportive to walk through on your own. As always, moms, this is something that anytime I learn something, I always love to share with you. And if you have anything that you're learning along the way that you love to share with me so we can learn together, I would love to hear back from you. Until next time, moms, I will see you soon. Bye.